Alright guys, so this is my work area. I didn't bother to clean it up because why would I? I mean, you guys are going to see this thing in action, you're going to see how I do stuff, so you might as well see how I keep it. It's great, I love it. It's just a standard IKEA desk. Those in the back here, these are all spice racks. I've added a piece of wood to elevate the bottles in the back. Also, let me see if I can do this here. So you can see here, most of my paint is in dropper bottles, but those are actual Games Workshop paints. Games Workshop paints come in these little paint pots right here. But I like using them in the dropper bottles because the paint pots tend to dry out. They don't seal right, and what happens is, oh man, that's terrible to see. You can't see that. I'm going to have to show you later. They dry out and you wind up losing a lot of paint. So I have found that I can transfer them to the dropper bottles. And there we go. And I buy them by the buttload. I mean, there's a ton of them in there. Sorry, look, this is new to me, all right? I haven't done video stuff in a while, so I'm sorry if this sucks. So anyway, so this is my work area. You can see here I have my paints. Let's see here. Yep, I got all my paints. I keep my brushes in two parts. So part one are these ones right here. And those are my detail brushes. I don't know what brand they are. I buy them at a hobby store. I like them quite a bit. I have several different sizes for detail work and for things like that. And then over here are my crap brushes. And I use those. I mean, I've got my dry brushes in there. I've got a couple of other different kinds of brushes. I'll show you guys how those work later on. Also, I have my airbrush over there. My airbrush is nothing fancy, nothing spectacular. In fact, there's the compressor down there on the ground. The airbrush is a TCP Master, so it's not an Iwata or a Badger or some $300 thing. I think the airbrush and the compressor cost me like $60. My wife actually got them for me for Christmas, and it sat unused for about a year before I got sick and tired of going out to the garage and primering everything with rattle cans. Here in Seattle, it's cold, it's wet, and I don't want to do it. So I got into using my airbrush that way. Also over here, you'll see, is my paint palette. Some guys use, they'll use a plate, or they'll use a dish, or they'll use an actual palette. I did that for a very long time, and I got sick and tired of cleaning them out. So that is actually just palette paper, and you can buy the GW stuff for like $9, or you can buy this for $5. It's 40 sheets, and I cut them in half, so I actually get 80 sheets out of these. They're awesome. I love them. You'll also see here, for paint, or for water, I have 3 buckets of water. Why do I have 3 things of water? Well, the first one, right here, is for dipping my brush in and using water to thin the paint. Okay. My second one here is for cleaning my brush off when I'm done. That way I'm not putting nasty old paint water in my paint and I'm not mixing up colors. The third one right here, that one's just for metallics. That way I don't wind up with metal flecks and whatnot in, let me get a little closer for you guys to see that. That way I don't wind up with metal flecks in my paints. I learned that the hard way when I wound up with silver flecks inside of a pot of Abaddon Black, and that was the end of that. You'll also see I have right here, those are my scraping and file tools. Use those for getting the mold lines off of models. Also, my glue of choice, Gorilla Glue. I don't need any fancy schmancy glues, and I know there's plastic cements, and I know there's thin and there's thick and there's whatnot. I use just plain old Gorilla Glue. It works fantastically. I have a couple of different clippers there, as well as a pair of pliers, because you never know when you're going to have to grip something. And just a standard cutting mat. That's a Fiskars. I got it at Walmart. It cost me $6. You'll also see that I have all kinds of half-finished models scattered around. There's my Imperial Fisk Contemptor Pattern Dreadnought. I've got, you can see there, half an Imperial Fist laying there. I've also got, zoom, there we go, focus comes back in. I've got, those are my Horus Heresy Era 1000 Suns, and some dinosaurs that me and my daughter are working on. Also, just because, again, half-finished projects galore. There's half a Def Dread. It was given to me by a friend of mine. He got it, didn't need it, so he gave it to me. So that was actually pretty awesome. Yeah. It's not unusual for me to have half-finished models just strewn out across my desk because, like I said, what will happen is I'll be working on a project halfway through and then something will come up where, oh, I need to finish this for a contest, or honestly, this new model kit comes out and I really want to put the new model kit together. So, yeah. Also, I use... Come on, you gonna focus? It's not gonna focus, is it? I'm terrible at this, and I'm sorry. I use quite a bit. I use these, let me bring this back over here. Again, not the highest production value, I'm sorry. How do I make that focus on that part? It doesn't want to. So this is a old model pot, and that is an alligator clip, and on it is a orc head, but for some reason it's just not focusing. I'm sorry, man, they make this difficult to do. But, so I quite frequently will use this to paint heads. I do my heads usually separately from the rest of the body, because then I can work on detail, like, I wish I could, how do I get this thing to freaking, man, I am fucking awful at this. Yeah, it's focusing on the wrong point. How do I... Come on. Anyway, look. It's terrible, I know. In fact, I'm going to stop now because I'm not even going to use this. Okay, there. I finally got it to zoom in. So this is... it's an orc head I'm working on. It's just a standard orc, but I really like how it turned out. So, yeah, very frequently what I'll do is I'll take these and I'll put them on... Now that one doesn't want to focus. Come on, focus up. There we go. I'll use a little bit of blue tack on the end there, and I'll hold it in place, and then I can focus on just that one piece. Man, if only I knew someone who was into video production who could tell me how to do this correctly. So yeah, and then over here, I know the light's terrible, I'm sorry. Again, I don't have a lighting kit. These are where I keep all of my other items, so I've got, my other airbrushes up here from bad experimentation. Some extra paints. I use oils for oil washes, and at one point we'll talk about that. Oil washing is hard. It's easy, but it's hard to do well. And then I've got some fun things in here. These are pigment powders. We'll talk about pigment powders at one point. These are really neat, and you can have a lot of fun with them. Also, I keep a couple of other, random things in here. You never know when I'm going to bump into that. And then over here, I keep some tools and some electronics. And then down here is usually all of my basing supplies. So things like grass and rocks and grass tufts and things. Plus, just random crap. You never know when you're going to need something. Like, I have a whole freaking container in here of bits of chunks of cork, because I use cork very frequently in my basing. It makes good asphalt and concrete. And rocks and kitty litter. And so I found these at IKEA. So these are rocks. They're little, like, it's stone to go in like a decorative jar, right? Like, chicks love that stuff, right? But I buy this and it's dirt cheap. This whole freaking thing right here cost me like $4, right? This thing of decorative stone was $5. This was $5. This costs more than this. And it's almost identical. Yeah, I mean, it's a little different sizing, but still. Alright, so I'm getting a temperature warning on the camera, which means I've recorded too long. Yeah, okay. So, folks, that's my table. That's what I've done. We'll talk more soon.